Hey guys, it's Ellie again. A little bit of a change up in the venue of where I'm going to be doing my videos. It might change weekly now just because I don't know if you got to see the video before that we most recently posted, but we're expanding. We get to move across the street, so all the front offices are moving across the street, and then where our offices currently are, they're going to turn into more bedrooms. And so it's really, really exciting because we're going to have more space to be able to help more people. But until then, I'm sorry, it's going to be a different background, different spot every single time we do a video until our offices are done, and I'll have a more permanent place to be able to do these. So today is Monday, which means I'm posting a video specifically for either parents, teens, or my elementary students. I would like to go ahead and finish up the body safety video for my elementary students, and so that's what I'm going to do today. So where we left off last time, we talked about boundaries, we talked about consent, we talked about the different ways we can help keep our bodies safe and healthy. So let's just cover that again real quick. Boundaries, what's okay, what's not okay. So you knowing what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, and then being able to communicate that with people, and knowing that it's okay to communicate that with people, and not just strangers, but with people that you know, people that you are close to. Very important that you are able to communicate what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, especially with physical touch. Consent, we talked about, is permission. It's yes, it's a definite yes, right? It's a verbal yes, meaning we hear them say it. Definite meaning there's no doubt in our mind that they're okay with what's about to happen, whether we're going to borrow something from someone or we're going to hug somebody or whatever it may be. Making sure that they're definitely okay with it, and if we're not sure, don't do it, right? The other thing with consent is making sure that they know everything that's going to happen. So the way that I explained it to you guys last time was, it's like if my friend has two markers, a blue marker and a red marker, and I say, hey, can I borrow your red marker? And they say, yes, absolutely. Well, there's my definite yes, right? And then I take both markers. Well, did I get consent for both markers? No, I got consent for one, right? Or if I'm asking someone like, hey, can I stand next to you? And they say yes, but then I end up getting like really, really close to them, or I give them a hug and I didn't ask to give them a hug. I just asked if I could stand next to them. That might make someone feel uncomfortable or unsafe, and we don't want to do that, especially with people that we know. We don't want to do that, right? And so it's the same for borrowing things, making sure that we have permission first. And if we don't, then don't do it. Or if we ask for one thing, only borrow or take that one thing. Okay, so boundaries, consent, we've got all of that, right? Now my next question for you guys, hugs. Can hugs hurt people? I usually get a lot of, no, hugs can't hurt people, but they can. And so some of the answers that I get from students who say like, yes, a hug can hurt someone, they say, well, if you hug someone too hard, which is true, you don't want to squeeze someone too tightly and then you end up hurting them. Or some people say, you know, emotionally you can hurt someone, which is very true. So how do you think you can hurt someone emotionally if you give them a hug? Well, the way I put it is, it's kind of like this. For myself, whenever I am sad or upset, I really don't like to get hugs from people. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel worse, actually. And so I kind of like to be left alone. I like my space. And so if I am sitting somewhere and I'm crying, or I seem upset, and someone just comes and gives me a hug because they think they're helping me, are they actually helping me? No, they're making me feel worse, right? And we don't want to do that. Even if they're not like intentionally trying to hurt me, they are hurting me or making me feel worse. And so we don't want to do that. So that's why it's important for us to ask, even if it's a friend or a family member, asking them first. Like with my daughter, I ask her all the time, hey, is it okay if I give you a hug? And if she tells me no, I just respect that and say, okay, that's fine. Now, if my daughter doesn't want to give me a hug, does that mean that she doesn't love me? No, of course not. That means that she just doesn't want a hug right then and there, and that's totally okay. She's setting a physical boundary, and that physical boundary deserves to be respected, right? So kind of what happens a lot of the time, I talked about this in the video for parents, whenever it comes to consent and boundaries and body safety. And so parents, if you're watching this with your kids, I'm going to talk about it again, and I'm going to talk about it with your kids. But whenever it comes to being like around a lot of family, especially around the holidays, or if family's visiting, you know, sometimes we're told like, hey, go give everyone a hug goodbye, or go give everyone a hug hi, and we don't want to. I was always that kid that like never really wanted to. I was really uncomfortable with it. My daughter's the same way. It's important that if you don't want to, that you vocalize that and say like, I'm not really comfortable with giving a hug right now, or I kind of just need my space right now. I know a lot of the times we won't say anything. We will just do it anyway. We'll go give hugs anyway, for multiple reasons. Maybe it's we don't want to get in trouble, or we don't want to hurt that person's feelings, or we don't want them to think that we don't love them, right? Or maybe they're telling us like, oh, you must not love me. Or maybe it's a parent telling us like, we're not leaving until you give everyone a hug. So in that situation, I always say it is important to still vocalize how you feel. Telling people like, hey, it's not that I don't care about you, because again, remember I talked about with my daughter, if she doesn't want to give me a hug, that doesn't mean that she doesn't love me. She just doesn't want to be touched right then, and that's okay. So vocalizing to people and telling them like, hey, I really don't feel comfortable with a hug right now. Is it okay if I just give you a high five? Is it okay if I just say it? Is it okay if I give you like an air hug or a fist bump, or did I say high five? Or wave? Sorry. There's a lot of things. And so, you know, doing one of those things, and letting them know like, hey, it's not you, I just don't want to be touched right now. Or it could be that maybe one of those people, even a family member or a friend, makes you feel uncomfortable. And if that's the case, then you definitely need to speak up. Because here's the thing, your comfortability and your safety, those should always come first, especially whenever it comes to physical touch. Those always, always, always come first, comfortability and safety. If you don't feel comfortable with a type of physical touch, even a hug, or if you don't feel safe with that, then you most definitely should feel okay with setting a boundary and saying like, no, I'm not okay with that. And so if there is someone that makes you feel uncomfortable, paying attention to that feeling. So the way I describe that is, it's like, how many of you have ever been in a situation like before the first day of school, or if you've ever moved somewhere to a new place and you have to start in a new school, or speaking in front of the classroom, or before a big test, or, you know, before a game, whatever it may be, we get those butterflies, right? We get this feeling in our stomach, like we're nervous. And sometimes that happens whenever there are strangers near us. Like if we're in a store and we notice that someone is following us, we get that feeling in our stomach, like, hey, something's off. When you get that feeling, it is very important for you to pay attention to it. Our body has a good way of telling us that something is off, or like we're in danger, or, you know, just something isn't right. And we need to pay attention to when our body is telling us that. Usually we think, oh, we'll only get this feeling with strangers. And so whenever we get it with people that we know, like family members or friends, we ignore it and we think it's just like us and it's something else. No, you can get this feeling with people that you've known for a really long time. You can get this feeling with people that your parents or guardians know really well. You can get this feeling with family members. You can get this feeling with friends, with best friends. You can get this feeling with anyone. And whenever you get that feeling, you need to pay attention to it. I also suggest that you talk to a trusted adult about it. If it is a trusted adult who's giving you that feeling, go and find another trusted adult to talk to about it. But don't ignore that feeling. Even if the person hasn't done anything, if you just get an uncomfortable feeling, your body is telling you that for a reason. You need to pay attention to it. And the reason why I say go and tell a trusted adult is because that way they can make sure, they can kind of keep an eye out if you are ever around that person again. Make sure that like the individual that's making you uncomfortable isn't doing anything strange, or they can make sure that you're not ever in a situation where you have to be alone with that person, right? So again, just vocalizing that, even if the person hasn't done anything, making sure that somebody knows, like, hey, I feel uncomfortable with this person. But again, feeling comfortable with setting those physical boundaries. So if you don't want to hug, it is okay to say, like, I don't really want to hug right now. Is it okay if I give you like a high five, or if I just tell you hi or bye? You know, I still love you, I still care about you. I just really need my space right now. That's totally fine. And parents, as a parent, backing up your child, because first and foremost, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe, and that they do feel okay with setting boundaries. So now we're going to get to the part that is typically a little bit awkward or uncomfortable to talk about. But just because it's awkward, just because it's uncomfortable, that doesn't mean that we don't talk about it. I tell my daughter that all the time. In fact, the things that are uncomfortable or awkward to talk about, they're probably a little bit more important to talk about. And so this part, we are talking about private parts. So private parts are the parts of our body that are covered by our bathing suit, right? So like in the summertime, or right now, like those of you who live in hotter areas, like we're in Texas, it gets really, really hot, really, really early here. So going swimming or to the beach, your bathing suit covers your private areas. Well, they're called private because they're meant to be kept private, right? So make sure that you listen to this part, okay? With private parts, with private areas, there is no reason why anyone should ask to touch or see your private parts. And there's no reason why anyone should ask you to touch or see theirs. I know that can seem like an odd thing to talk about, but it happens often. I hear about this happening at school in the bathrooms with kids going into the same stalls. I hear about it happening on the school bus. This stuff does happen, and it's not okay. It's called inappropriate touch. Your private parts are meant to be kept private. Even if it's your best friend, I don't care. They're meant to be kept private. Even if it's an adult, like a family member, and they're telling you, oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay, especially if they're telling you to keep it a secret. It's not okay. That's inappropriate touch. Those parts of your body are meant to be kept private. Now, doctors and nurses, they have to get consent first, right? And so I always tell my daughter, even if we're at the doctor and that's something that has to happen, you know, the doctor has to get consent first. And if you're uncomfortable in that situation, speak up about it. I always tell my daughter that. Tell us that you're uncomfortable so that we know that you're uncomfortable, so that we can talk to you about why we're doing this, why it's necessary. We can, you know, kind of help her feel better about it so that she still has some control in the situation. Because the thing is it's her body. It's just like it's your body. This is my body, right? It belongs to us, and so we deserve a say so. But again, with our private parts, that is inappropriate touch. It is not something that should be happening. And if anyone is asking you to keep a secret about it, it is definitely not okay. I think I said this in one of my other videos. Even if I did, I don't care. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. Any type of physical touch, I don't care what type of touch it is, no one should be asking you to keep it a secret. That's very important. No one should be asking you to keep it a secret, okay? Even if it's a hug, I don't care. I want you to think about that. Why would someone ask you to keep a hug a secret? More than likely, it's because they know they shouldn't be doing it. Or if they know it makes you uncomfortable and they're doing it anyway, they don't want to get in trouble, right? And so they ask you to keep it a secret. So that can be something that happens where, and again, it's not just strangers that this can happen with. This can happen with people that you know, and people that you trust. And if it does happen where someone asks to touch or see your parts, or asks you to touch or see theirs, or just does that without asking, you always need to go and talk to a trusted adult about it. If it is a trusted adult doing it and they're telling you to keep it a secret, you always go and tell another trusted adult. Always, always, always. But what can happen is sometimes the person can say, oh, well, you care about me, right? You can trust me. Please don't tell me because I don't want to get in trouble. Doesn't matter. You still go tell a trusted adult. Or sometimes, you know, someone might tell you something like, well, if you go and tell someone, no one's going to believe you, or you're going to get in trouble. I don't care. You still go tell a trusted adult. Or sometimes it can happen where someone can say, if you tell someone, I'm going to hurt you. In that situation, you most definitely tell a trusted adult, and you tell that trusted adult that the other person said they were going to hurt you if you told anyone, okay? That is not something that should be happening to you. It is not something that you should have to deal with on your own, or that you should feel alone with. It's not something that you should feel like is okay to happen, because it's not. So making sure that you talk to a trusted adult. I've had students ask like, well, what if something already did happen? Even if something already did happen, you still tell somebody about it, because it's something that needs to be dealt with emotionally and mentally, right? Because it's not something that's okay. And so you deserve to have people there that can help you kind of navigate how to get through those emotions. If it's something that happened a long time ago, still need to talk to somebody about it, all right? It's really important, and you deserve to be able to talk about it. You deserve to be able to get help to navigate those emotions, but also to know that it's not your fault. That's not something that you deserved, and it wasn't okay, and it's not something that should happen to you again. And I always tell my students to, like, in the next video, we will go over, the circle of trust, which is going to be our trusted adults, people that we can talk to. And so I always tell my students that if you do tell a trusted adult about something like this and they don't listen to you, or they don't believe you, or they don't do anything about it, you keep telling trusted adults until someone does something about it. One, it may be that first trusted adult, or maybe the second or the third that you've told, they don't know how to handle this type of situation, and so they just kind of like blow it off. Or you might just have those adults that just like don't believe you, which is sad, and that's not what you deserve. And so just knowing that I want you to keep telling adults until somebody does listen, until somebody does help you, and until somebody does believe you. Because I promise you, there will always be someone out there who does listen and who does believe you and who can help you. I promise. Sometimes it takes longer to find that person, which I know seems unfair. And it can be difficult having to open up about something so personal so many times, especially if the people in the past haven't believed you. But again, you deserve to have people who are there to listen, and who are there to help you, and who are there to believe you. You deserve to have that. So sometimes it does take a little bit of work to find those people, but just making sure that you keep talking about it to adults, to trusted adults, until somebody does believe you and until somebody does something about it, okay? So that's the end of our video today. If y'all have questions, if y'all have comments, as always, you can leave them in the comments below. You can call us. I'll put our number. I'll put our website. You can reach out to us through Facebook. We are still open. We are still offering services. But yeah, always feel free to reach out and ask questions, or, if you have concerns about anything, just reach out to us. I hope that y'all all had a great weekend, and I hope that y'all have a great week, and hopefully all this COVID stuff is ending soon so that we can go back to normal life. But thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe so that you know whenever new videos are posted. Tomorrow I'll be posting an interview with another one of our employees, so you can learn a little bit more about our agency and what we do. And I think that's it for today. So thank you guys. I appreciate y'all. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see y'all soon. All right.